Hello YouTube, welcome back to the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. So I have good news for you. The interdimensional portal to the fifth dimensional Earth is now open. We're going to talk about what it's going to be like on the new Earth. I'm going to tell you the information that I have about how to make the jump to the new Earth. I've put a link in here. I've pinned it on the chat, which is another channel which explains in detail, I think, some very good information that corresponds with my meditative downloads. The bad news is that the portal will close soon. How soon? I don't know, but it's not going to be there indefinitely, that's for sure. Welcome back to the channel. This is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Thank you for showing up. If you've shown up to this channel, I believe it's because you're here for a reason. And I believe that you're here because part of you wants to do what is necessary to give yourself everything you have ever wanted. If you're here, there's a good chance that you're here because you're in need of healing. And so I'm also in search of continued healing for myself. I am not a finished product by any sense of the word. And like you, I am seeking out my own healing and my own enlightenment. I don't believe in enlightenment in the traditional way, but I'm seeking the same thing you are. And on this channel, I share with you practical methods. You know, here's the good thing. You know, people give me a hard time about me telling you, go do the work. People get on my case about that. But if you think about it, which would you rather have? Would you rather have somebody say, here is the path out? Here are the very simple things you can do to achieve what you want, to escape the matrix, whatever words you want to use? Or do you want to just have somebody talk at you and not give you any solutions? So my experience is that people who want to get on my case because I am continuously telling you there are actions you need to take, and here are some of the actions, I lay it out for you. People that give me a hard time for that, they're really angry at themselves. They're angry at themselves at their own resistance to their own liberation. You know, this particular 3D is really about projection. Everything is a projection. You're angry at somebody, you're in love with somebody. These are all projections. And so it's really important to be able to be willing to go past that and take the actions. The good news is if you follow my directions, whether you do the free stuff or whether you subscribe, if you follow my directions and do them consistently, I guarantee you your life will change. I guarantee it. And if you don't believe me, I challenge you. I invite you to prove me wrong. But the only way you can prove me wrong is if you do the same things I've done. And if you haven't done the same things I've done, then you can't know whether or not what I'm telling you is true or not. So welcome to the channel, regardless of how long you've been here. I understand that it does, you know, if you're here because you need help, if you're here because you need healing, it also means you're going to have some resistance to doing the painful work to actually heal, to actually awaken. So let's take a look at what we're going to talk about here today. There is a portal, a dimensional gateway to the 5D Earth. And I believe this portal is now open, or it is in the process of opening. I believe that this portal will close soon. I don't have an exact date, but the year 2025 keeps popping up. And today we're going to talk about how to jump to the new Earth and what you need to know to be able to do that. Before we go any further, this channel is about taking action. So first things first, Go and spend some time on the channel page. There's free practices. Go to the playlists. Every single one of those things on those playlists that I teach, that I'm giving away for free, I would be well within my rights to charge hundreds or thousands of dollars. You can get it for free. If you want the highest esoteric, elite, if you will, practices that I have, go over here to thunderwizard.com and subscribe. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe whenever you want. Courses.thunderwizard.com to see everything else I have. And then, of course, all of my books on Amazon, Kindle, and Audible. Interdimensional Revolution is one of them. All right, let's get into it. The portal. So, again, let me tell you, I'll try and be brief. If you were to talk to me 2.5 years ago, if you were to talk to me 2.5 years ago and talk to me about an interdimensional portal to 5D, first off, if you had talked about 5D, I would have just destroyed you. I would have thought that was the most ridiculous, new age, frightened, escapist mindset. Life is here. I'm a warrior. This is reality. You have to deal with this. I would have said something along those lines. So if I'm talking about this, it's not because I figured it out or thought it was a good idea. I'm here talking about this because I've personally, through my experiences, been convinced. I've been wrong about many, many things. And whenever I become aware that I'm wrong about something, I will come out and tell you. Sometimes I make videos about I was wrong about. So you can be sure that what I teach on this channel, if I tell you that I've experienced it, it means just that. I've learned it through experience. Didn't read it somewhere. Nobody convinced me. I'm not believing it because it's the hip thing to do. I pride myself on trying to be a critical thinker, which means I want to know the truth, and I want to know my own emotional attachments and resistance to anything. I've always wanted to know the truth more than I've wanted to be attached to my own feelings about things. And that goes all the way back to walking away from Christianity, even though I thoroughly believed that if I left the religion, I would go in hell. For me, it was more important to live in my integrity. Even if somebody said, you know, you're going to go to hell forever, I would say, well, at least I have my integrity. I believed that. So I'm not afraid to change my opinion, and I'm not afraid to believe something even though it's frightening. And I encourage you to analyze your beliefs. I encourage you to be willing to be afraid. Fear is a feeling. Fear itself can't harm you. There are no shortage of people who aren't afraid, who are killing themselves in all kinds of ways. Fear cannot harm you. Your emotions can't harm you. They're not comfortable. In fact, sometimes they're intolerable, but they can't kill you. So I encourage you to be willing to look at your fear. As we go into today's thing, I'm going to be encouraging you to do the same thing I'm doing. So let me first explain to you how this is all going to work. So as you know, everything I'm teaching about this, I had a personal experience. I've learned it through experience, not because I read it somewhere. I, in June, made contact with an extraterrestrial being from a higher dimension, and I have been in contact with higher dimensional beings ever since then, June of 2022, so it's been over a year. In that time, those beings have been telling me all kinds of things, and one of the things that they have been telling me slowly, because they knew if they told me the full breadth of it, I probably would have rejected it. I wouldn't have been able to. It would have been too frightening to me. So I'm telling you, this concept is frightening to me. A lot of people want to escape to the fifth dimension. But there are just as many of those people who want to escape to the fifth dimension whose reasons for wanting to escape actually are working against them shifting to higher dimensions. So it really does mean shifting to the new earth is going to be reserved for people who have a warrior spirit. Warrior spirit doesn't mean that you need to go and pick fights with people. It means that you're willing to face your own demons, you're willing to face your own fears, you're willing to face all of the things within yourself that you're attached to or that you find uncomfortable. Those are the people who are going to make it. But what I have been told is that first and foremost, there is a solar flash event which we are now in the midst of. Solar flash is not the best word to describe it. It's actually a series of solar waves. And as it so happens, we are going through a solar maximum. We're getting hit with solar radiation and plasma. And every time that happens, that is another wave in the solar event. In the video link that I gave to you, that video is at least 6 years old. And the person talking about this, hasn't been experiencing at that time. I mean, I don't know her personally. I'm sure now she is experiencing it. But at that time, 6 years ago, it was very likely she personally was not experiencing what she was talking about, that she was receiving in these sessions. Go watch the video and find out what I mean. Another one of Alison Coe's videos. But we are now living it. So we've been hearing about this solar flash event where the light, this spiritual light, hits the earth, and the frequency of that light goes into the manifested, physical reality of beings as well as the earth itself, and shifts the frequency up. And what was interesting is that she talked about, in one of her sessions with one of her clients, she talked about something that I came to find out was actually true. And one of her clients said that they saw that every time there was a huge evolutionary shift, it was always as a result of one of these solar events, where you have a solar maximum event where the sun is sending to the solar system, including Earth, these solar storms, solar radiation, solar plasma. And as it so happens, scientists have also said that they've discovered that the reason why Neanderthals went extinct. Now, throughout my whole life, people have been saying all kinds of different theories about why the Neanderthals went extinct. And the truth is, nobody knew. It's just seemingly from the record, one day there were Neanderthals and the next day there weren't. And then from then on, modern humans took over the world. So people make, conclusions like humans drove them out, which there really isn't evidence for that Neanderthals were absorbed into humans, which there's a little bit of evidence for that, but nobody really knows. But now they're saying that, or at least some scientists are saying that the Earth was going through what is called an incursion event. We are going through an incursion event. That is when the magnetic field of the Earth is shifting, and there are holes in the magnetic field. It is much weaker, which means the magnetic field is less capable of filtering out solar radiation. And an incursion event happening simultaneously with a solar maximum means that the amount of solar radiation that is hitting the Earth is far, far more than normal. And it turns out that one of these exact scenarios is what happened when the Neanderthals went extinct. And we are going through that now. And the solar wave event is talking in ways that if you were to look at it from a 3D, after the fact, from a 3D scientific perspective, you could say, wow, there was a solar event that changed the DNA of the humans that were living there at that time in 2024. And there was a complete shift in the genome, which created a new species. If you add in the spiritual aspect of that, what you end up having is you have not only a physical shift, but you have a spiritual shift as well. So it begs the question, where did the Neanderthals go? It begs the question, where did other animals go? I know for a fact that, from personal experience, that Sasquatch are beings that live in another version of Earth, and they can come back into our vibration of Earth and into theirs. I've talked about that many times. So that is what is happening to us. So I want you to be aware that this is a process that is going to take a little bit of time, and it is happening right now. I, as I said before, did not like the idea of a second Earth. I didn't like the idea of, special people going to the new Earth and, other people not. But I am now I'm about ready to say I'm convinced that that's what's happening. And the shift is happening every time that we have a solar storm, which we just got out of one, and we might still be in one, but I felt it yesterday, and I looked it up, and we have had some solar storms hit the Earth very recently. And those are the best times, by the way. When you know that you're being hit by solar radiation, that's when you need to be doing interdimensional meditation. You need to be doing that. And I was doing my interdimensional meditations, and anyway, long story short, I am getting more and more information that we are going to shift. But it's not that we sit here and the shift happens to us. It's that the shift hits the Earth, and the Earth splits into two frequencies. One is a higher frequency and one is a lower frequency. So the Earth that we are currently on will simply disappear. And it will no longer, nobody will be able to be in this in the middle where you can, either be a complete, total nutbag psychopath, or you can have a spiritual life and spiritual practice. That is no longer going to be the case. You're either going to shift to the higher or the lower frequency. And to my happiness, we will have a choice. The choice will be given to every single human being. You will have a choice to shift up or shift down. And so that begs the question, why would anybody want to choose to go down? But sadly enough, I've been alive long enough to see that same dynamic happen all the time. I've known people who've had opportunities to take actions, to face themselves, and completely change their lives. I chose to do that. To the best of my ability, I continuously try to choose to face my fears, to face my pain, and to become conscious, and then to take actions that will allow me to be healthy and to be more empowering to other people. And I've been alive long enough to see that other people who had the exact same choices that I had at the same time period, they didn't make those choices. So bear in mind, I just want you to understand that the choice to not shift up isn't going to look like you going, you know what? I could go up there, or I could go down to this worst place. I'm going to go to the worst place. It's not going to be that kind of a choice. The choice that you're being given, not you're going to be given, you are being given that choice right now. The choice you are being given is, are you willing to face your discomfort? Are you willing to drop the fear? Are you willing to drop your unwillingness to be seen? Are you willing to drop the resentment, the desire to escape your pain? Are you willing to drop all of those impulses or not? Because people, the easiest thing to do, in case you want to know, the easiest thing to do to not shift is do nothing. If you do nothing, you're guaranteed that you will respond to your fear, because your fear is a survival mechanism. You will respond to your physical impulses, you will respond to your emotional impulses, and you will respond to your resistance. Because those things create impulses within you, and impulses are hard to resist. So it's even more challenging when you have to live with all those feelings and impulses and then do the exact opposite. That you have to make a deliberate decision to do that. So if you don't want to go to 5D, then the thing to do is nothing. Easiest thing you could ever do, just do nothing, and guaranteed you'll shift down. You'll respond to all of your self-defense, limited fear-based survival impulses, and you'll shift down. So shifting up is meaning that we need to be in a place of love. So some people are really wired very good for that. Some people just, when the waves hit them, the light waves hit them, they enjoy that idea. The feelings that give the rest of us, myself included. I put myself in that category of people that if I do nothing, I can guarantee that I'll shift down. No two ways about it. No two ways about it. But there are people, when they get hit with this light, they naturally respond positively to it. And they seek after light, they seek after love, they seek after self-empowerment. For whatever reason, they are blessed with those abilities. I'm not one of those people. I've had to work my ass off just to stay alive, to be clear. Just to stay alive, I've had to work my ass off. So what's going to happen, based on what I'm hearing, and I'm willing for this to change, but I think what is going to happen is that at some point, perhaps within the next year or two, everybody will have an experience where they will feel in their physical body a transformation. And I imagine it's going to feel similar to the way an orgasm feels. It's going to be this build up, and then you're going to realize, oh my God, something's going to happen and I don't have any conscious control over it. It will probably be very blissful. It might be a frightening experience as well. And then it'll happen. And for some people, the way it's been described is that you'll wake up in a new world. It's going to be a completely different planet. I mean, it might look similar, but it's not going to be the same Earth that we're on now. And the ways that you can guarantee that you will be able to make that shift are when you are, number one, in every single conscious moment of your life, you are working towards operating from love. Now, in order to operate from love, I mean, you have to be a warrior. A warrior, again, isn't somebody who fights and kills. A warrior is somebody who's willing to die for what they want. Like my ancestors said, those who die in battle go to Valhalla. Not those who are without fear, or those who achieve enlightenment, or those who are filled with love. Those who are willing to die in battle go to Valhalla. And we could call the new earth Valhalla, for all I care. So that means you must be willing to die for what? Nobody is choosing to die for Nothing. Nobody even chooses to die just because it makes them brave. People choose to die because there's something that is even more important to them than the life. And that payoff is being in a state of love within yourself, self-love, love for others. But let me describe for you what I believe is going to be like on this new earth. It is my belief that you will have a direct connection energetically and consciously with the earth herself. You will feel a connection with the mother. You will feel surrounded and supported and loved on every level. This is a big problem now. You know, people have exchanged being loved by Mother Earth. They have exchanged that with money. And you've heard me say it a million times. Money doesn't exist. It's a concept. By the way, anybody listening to me who is letting the thought of money prevent them from having what they want, please take this advice. Go get whatever it is that you want. Go buy it. Borrow, do whatever to go buy the things that you want. Because the only way that, even if we were to stay in this money-based system, which we're not, but if we were to stay in this money-based system, if you go and spend the money on things that your soul wants, that you truly want, the universe will replace that. I guarantee it. The only time that you end up without money is when you spend money coming from fear. For example, investing. You know, I was alive long enough. I watched my parents invest. I watched my parents lose millions of dollars. Myself, my brother, and my sister. My dad set up this thing with investment before he died that supposedly would have made all three of us millionaires. And, you know, not too long after he was dead, all that money was gone. Millions of dollars gone. People who, you know, you gamble. There's three sins? There's three sins in some Hindu religious sects that you cannot burn off the karma in one lifetime. Two of them make sense. One is killing your teacher. If you commit murder on your teacher, it's going to take you more than one lifetime to burn that off. Another one is forcing yourself sexually on somebody. That you can't burn off in one lifetime. The third one, you'd be very surprised to understand the third sin, according to some, I'm not saying this is true, but it's there for a reason. The third thing that you cannot burn off the karma in one lifetime is gambling. Think about it. When you gamble, you are operating, number one, from fear, because you think you don't have enough, so you need more. You're operating from laziness because you don't want to go and actually do something to work to get that, offer some kind of service or product to people so you can get compensated from that by the universe. And you believe that if you don't cheat the world in some way, you won't get the money that you want. And again, money in the unconscious mind represents the love of Mother Earth. So the whole mindset behind gambling comes from a place of fear and a place of self-hatred. You cannot gamble without at least a part of you hating yourself. Because you know that the chances are you're taking your resources and just throwing them in the street. You're throwing them away. So, and it's also true, the majority of people who have back pain, people who even get back surgeries, it turns out their main issue is that they just don't believe that Mother Earth will provide them with the resources to live, which we have conflated into money. So the proper use of money is to provide yourself with the things, the products, the resources that your soul wants from you. When you hold back from what your soul wants, I keep repeating the word soul because I'm not talking about, going to Vegas and getting hookers or, doing crazy stuff like that. The things that actually feed your soul in your life. You owe it to yourself to take your money and go get that stuff. Whatever the heck that is. Especially now, because pretty soon money's going to go away. I'm going to repeat one of the suggestions in the video link that I gave to you in the chat. I'm going to repeat one of the suggestions, which is I recommend that everybody, who's looking forward in their life and they're looking to create a career for themselves. I'm going to repeat what was said in the video. People who've gotten law degrees, people who have gotten, whatever is doctorates, people who have gotten, gone to school and gotten degrees so that they can, doctors, lawyers, things like that, that when the time comes, people are just going to rip those things up and throw them away. They're going to be worthless. Because if you truly are going after the desire to heal and to help and take care of, you will see that where the world is going is that the way to heal is through consciousness, self-love, healing others. And in this new world, there will be no medical doctors. There might be healers. But people will understand that all disease comes from psychological and energetic imbalance. And the way to balance that, it's very simple. The way to balance that is to follow your soul, is to connect with your soul and let yourself go towards the joy that your soul wants for you. If you do that, I guarantee you, you can heal. I've seen it. In my own life, I've seen it. I've also seen people become extremely sick, ill, and in many cases die because of unresolved emotional, psychological trauma within them. And all emotional and psychological trauma always goes back to self-devaluation. I'm not minimizing it because at some point self-devaluation becomes the instinctual reflex for self-preservation if you've been programmed that way. So all of that programming is going to go away. In the new earth, people will be able to connect directly to spirit. Now, I want to share with you a concept that I'm trying to put into words, which I'm calling the ladder of consciousness. So imagine a ladder. You're standing in front of a ladder, you want to get to the roof, and as you go to the roof, you grab onto the rungs of the ladder, you step on the rungs, and there's a connection. You can see a direct connection from where you are to the next level above you, the roof, whatever it is. And we live in, the 3D that we live in now is like living in a hole with no ladder. Imagine living in a hole and then somebody covers it over. We're trapped in a hole. We can't get out of it. No matter how hard you try, you can't climb out of it. Not only can you not climb out of it, you can't even see. You can't see out of the hole. You don't even know what's on the other side. That's where we are. Once you get beyond this vibration of the third dimension, you enter a dimension where you can see a direct connection between yourself and all other levels of being. That's why, when you connect to higher dimensions, let me just tell you what happened with me. When I started doing interdimensional meditation, when I started doing CE5 and then started doing interdimensional meditation on a daily basis, what first happened was that I was shockingly introduced to a higher dimensional being. that on the one hand was incredibly blissful, and on the other hand was so foreign to my understanding of reality that I started losing my mind. I mean, I went through a period of a few months where I thought I was losing it. Because I had to get rid of everything I understood about, not only get rid of what I understood about physical reality, but I had to accept that this reality I lived in was an illusion. It wasn't even real. It was as real as, any kind of projection. It just had no reality to it. You couldn't bank on any of it. But what started happening after that was, after interacting with the higher dimensional beings that would expand me and fill me with all this blissful energy, at the same time flip me out, because every time I tapped into it, I would have to die to my third dimensional self in another way. But then what started to happen is I was able to have personal interaction, conscious interaction with all forms of reality. I was able to, of course, consciously communicate with the higher dimensional beings that were physically visiting me. But then I was able to reach out and have communication with, for instance, the sun, the moon, the earth. I was able to have conscious communication with non-physical higher dimensional beings, and have conscious communication with deities that are in dimensions beyond what we can even begin to understand. And that is a reality for me. That's just, now it's just, I can't imagine not having that. That's as real to me as, breathing. And I have to remind myself that that wasn't the case 2.5 years ago. 2.5 years ago, I was trapped in a hole with everybody else, and I had to choose to believe or not believe in what I couldn't see. People want to believe in a God, they want to believe in the spirit. You have to believe in it. You have to do things like I did for years, do qigong or meditation, which will tap you into energies that are subtle energies, and then you have this belief, well, I have this evidence, there must be something else because I'm feeling all this chi energy through my body. Or you do a ritual and your life starts to change and you feel some energy and you think, well, that must mean that there's a God. But even then, as I was doing rituals that whole time, if you were to ask me, are deities conscious beings? I might say, I don't know if they are. I think they're more like forces in the universe that you tap into. And now I can tell you without a doubt that deities, name whatever deity you want, they are as conscious as you and I, and they have feelings and a mind, and they can communicate with you the same way, anybody else can. And so the point is that once we get out of this three-dimensional hole and we're in the new 5D, that ladder to consciousness will be available to anybody. What I needed was I needed a direct connection to higher dimensional energy, which is what that extraterrestrial light being gave to me. That light being literally cracked open my aura, and for months was doing all kinds of things that I still don't understand to this day, but it was tapping me into a direct connection to higher dimensional energy. There were days when I was just getting bombarded with higher dimensional energy. It was very blissful, but at the same time, it was like, what is happening? And if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't have the abilities that I have now. So this is why I recommend that everybody do interdimensional meditation. Because if you do that on a daily basis, you have a much better chance of being able to then make that shift. So let me talk to you about, I think, the various levels, because everybody has a different experience. I talk about my experiences, which I thought everybody was going to have, and I've come to find out not everybody has the same experiences that I have. So when you do CE5, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, human-initiated contact with extraterrestrials, it's very easy to do. Go Google it, the letter C, the letter E, the number 5 protocols. You can find out how to do it yourself. I'll tell you before the video is over a very simple way to do that. The first level is that, well, first let me say this. If you even begin to consciously decide to connect with ETs, if you make that decision and you do anything, whether it's a meditation or anything like that, where you send out a mental invitation to ETs, I guarantee you it is heard. I guarantee you it is heard, and I guarantee you somebody comes to respond to you. Now, whether or not you have an experience is another issue altogether. So you can believe me or not believe me, you won't hurt my feelings, but I guarantee you, if you, even for 10 seconds, reach out and say, I would like to connect with any extraterrestrial beings out there, I guarantee you, you will get a response. Meaning that somebody will respond to your invitation. And my friend the magpie agrees, as you heard. They are my friends, by the way. They show up and I feed them. And there's one that brings me gifts. You know, he's brought me food before. Of course, I don't eat it because I don't eat cockroaches, but you know, he'll bring me a gift and leave it for me. At least he's done that at least once. Anyway, that's what ETs will do. They will come and they will bring a gift for you. They will want to connect with you. They will want to commune with you. And the question is whether or not you have the ability to hear them. Now, if you're trapped in that hole, you're not going to be able to hear them. Even if you do, you'll talk yourself out of it. On my video, I recommend, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Learn how to, I think it's in the Aliens playlist. You can go to the Aliens playlist and look for How I Became an Extraterrestrial. And I have video proof that the first time that I did CE5 beings showed up. I have audio proof and video proof that they showed up. But I talked myself out of it. I said, I don't think this worked. And I couldn't see. At one point, there was an orb floating around my body, and I couldn't see it. I've got it on videotape, though. When my radio made the noise that it makes when an ET is letting you know that they're there, I said out loud, "Are you here?" And I heard nothing, but on the audio on the videotape, you hear somebody say, "Yes." And I guarantee you there was no other human within vocal range that could have done that. So the first level is you reach out and they respond, but you can't see or feel anything. And it's because you are still creating and engaged in creating your three-dimensional protection mechanism, which will be fueled by fear, by anger, by pain, depression, self-devaluation, devaluation of others, judgment. All of those things create a very strong energy field that, doesn't matter who they are, they can't get through it. They won't be able to get through it. So that's the first level. And so even if you've had, people write me and say nothing's happened. And when I ask questions, after a while, we find out something did happen. You're just not accepting that something happened. The second level is when you reach out, you'll have some kind of physical manifestation. There will be an orb, or you'll see a spaceship, or you'll see some light in the sky that disappears or shoots across the sky, or you'll see shooting stars that go in directions that shooting stars can't go in. But if somebody were walking by and they saw it, they wouldn't think anything of it. They would think, oh, a shooting star. And you can do things like, some strange thing will flip, go by in the sky and disappear, and you go, what was that? And then you can kind of say, like one time I was looking at a star and I said, okay, if you're out there, then do something with that star. And the star started blinking. You know, there was a red light and a green light that was coming from the star, and it wasn't a plane. It was like Venus or something like that. Now, again, if somebody is just sitting there and they happen to glance and see it, they're not going to think anything of it because, you know, that happens a lot. Stars, you know, twinkle in and out in different ways. Or you might see something even bigger than that. You might see something that's clearly not part of your normal reality, but it will be limited to a physical thing that you see. And this is, again, what I see, unfortunately, is a drawback of CE5, is that it seems a large number of people who do CE5 only go to see the light show, you know, and they're obsessed with looking at, spaceships. You know, in fact, they spend, you know, hours looking in the sky to see if they find anything anomalous that they can, you know, take pictures of. I personally, while I appreciate seeing spaceships, and certainly if one were to land in my front yard, I mean, I would have as strong a reaction as anybody. But for me personally, it doesn't do a whole lot for me any more than if somebody were to say, hey, have you met the, you know, so-and-so? I wouldn't go, no. What kind of car does he drive? Can you tell him to drive around the block? I want to watch him drive his car with my binoculars. And then go and make a video about, I saw so-and-so driving around the block in a red Corvette. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I would say, can I meet them? So that, for me, the next level is what I care about. And I've always cared about that. I want to commune with them. I want to energetically commune with them. I want to communicate with them. So the next level will be if you are able to consciously experience some kind of altered energetic experience. Again, people, a lot of times, again, it's very interesting, the self-devaluation, how it comes out. Because the first thing that will come out when you interact with a higher dimensional being is your self-devaluation, your self-doubt, your lack of self-confidence, your insecurity will come to the surface. And people will say, yeah, you know, I did that CE5 thing and nothing happened. And then if you listen, they'll go, I mean, I felt this really warm, loving energy around me, but how come they didn't show up for me? I'm like, what are you talking about? You just got through saying that some warm, loving energy was there. That energy was an invitation for you to interact on a meditative level, for you to go and try and meet them. Try to move up in your vibration. The warm, loving energy you felt was designed to put you in a state where then you would give back warm, loving energy. Because the fifth dimensional earth is going to be a dimension of love, acceptance, of self-love and love for others. And as I said, that ladder to consciousness will be available to anybody. It won't be strange for people, the average person, to be able to say, yeah, I talked to a being on the ninth dimension, and I talked to the god so-and-so, and we had... Everybody's going to be psychic. Everybody's going to have an ability to travel interdimensionally. Everybody's going to have the ability to heal themselves and heal others just with thought alone. Everybody's going to have the ability to manifest whatever they want. Because manifestation, this is the one thing that unfortunately the law of attraction and other manifestation teachings don't really grasp, is that manifestation can only happen when you are seeking to empower your soul. That's why wanting to manifest winning the lottery doesn't work. Because winning the lottery doesn't do anything for your soul. In fact, it diminishes your soul. And fame, power, sex, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. Within a loving relationship, I think sex is great. But, any kind of superficial interaction with all that stuff is self-devaluing. So you can't manifest anything that's devaluing to yourself. So in the fifth dimension, people will have access to their own soul, and they'll be able to manifest what their soul wants. So, as I understand it, what makes sense to me is that this bridge, this portal which has now opened, what will happen is that there will be a space of time, for how long I don't know. I imagine it will probably be for a few months, maybe a year maximum. But I could be wrong. But I think during that time, people will start to shift. People who are the most connected to loving themselves and loving others, who aren't trying to escape this world because they're trying to escape their feelings, but people who are wanting to go closer to love within themselves. They want to go deeper within their own experience of self-love. Those people will start spontaneously shifting to the new earth. And then it will become apparent to more and more people that, hey, people are leaving. People are shifting out of here. People are jumping. People are leaping to the new world. And then they will have to go, do I want to do that? And so the next level of people will be people who will have to make a decision. These will be people who still have an attachment to fame, money, which again, money doesn't exist, power, all this stuff, being accepted, being part of the narrative. Those people will have to make a decision, and they'll have enough, experience in both of those vibrations that they can go, you know what, it just feels better to go towards love, even though it's scary, even though I'm going to have to let go of, there's going to be rich people who have houses and money, and they're going to have to go, I have to choose one. Because in the new world, there isn't going to be the haves and the have-nots. Nobody's going to own anything. It won't, because there isn't anything to buy. Everything will be available to anybody. You want a house? No problem. You want food? No problem. If you want to be able to travel, through wormholes to the other side of the earth, no problem. You want to travel to other dimensions? You want to go to other planets? No problem. So nobody's going to have to worry about having a car, having a house, having a mortgage, having a job. You're not going to have to worry about any of that crap. Nobody's going to have to get up and go to work and work for a boss. Nobody's going to have to worry about paying taxes or, their credit card bill. Nobody's going to have to worry about any of that. People will provide for themselves, and they will enjoy providing for others. There's going to be people who will really enjoy communicating to plants, and they'll be the farmers. They will, they look forward to getting up and having that energetic communication with plants or animals or whatever. And those are going to be the people who, maybe if you're not a farmer, maybe you're a musician, maybe you're an energy healer, maybe you're a spiritual teacher. You're going to be doing the thing that you love. I mean, I'm going to probably be doing this same kind of thing because I would do it anyway, assuming that I still have something that people want. And so, everybody's just going to be giving from within themselves. And children are going to be born from the beginning. It's going to be about helping children discover their power. It's not going to be about sending them off to school or punishing them or anything like that. It's just going to be about them expanding into the awareness of themselves. It's going to be a completely different world, and it's going to be the world that everybody wishes they could have. Everybody wishes they could live in. The world that you wanted to live in when you were 4 years old. The world where there are unicorns and there are fairy godmothers and there are, that stuff turns out is more real than anything else. And eventually there will come a point when the portal between this earth, there's going to be, actually, if I understand it, I think there's going to be a three-way portal. There's going to be the earth that we're at now, which is sort of like an anchor. And from that, there will be a portal to the higher dimensional earth. And there will also be a portal to the lower dimensional earth. So I have to assume, if this is accurate, that as the more lovingly centered people start to leave in the beginning, there's going to be people on the lower end that are going to start leaving as well. And I don't know if you've noticed this, and I'm definitely not saying this is true for everyone that this has happened to, but it makes me wonder. I don't know if you've noticed this, but people are dropping dead like never before. I know of at least a couple people that were fine one day and dead the next. Bonk. I know a lot of people who were fine and then all of a sudden had these diseases that killed them very quickly, that came out of nowhere. So there are other explanations for that, which we can't talk about on this channel, but I think there's maybe a connection there. And the whole point of all this isn't to frighten you. The whole point of all this is to get you to be willing to look at yourself. Here's my experience. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The most challenging part about ascension is allowing yourself to be completely seen and completely loved. And the more trauma that you've gone through, if you went through abuse as a kid, if you went through trauma, dysfunction as a kid, certainly if you're depressed, you're angry, you're full of resentment, you want to escape the matrix because you can't tolerate your feelings, the new word is delete yourself. If you're in that category, then when you experience true love, it will be the most frightening, painful thing you've ever felt. You will be more comfortable living in an abusive, horrible world than you will allowing yourself to be loved. So the way out of that is to begin to do the work. And the work is the tools that I have are what I teach you here in the thunderwizard.com Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. That is one of the tools. Mantra meditation is another one. Do mantra meditation on a daily basis. Do the Hool breath. I'm telling you, the Hool breath, if you're not familiar with it, I'll write it down so you can Google it. Hool breath. You go Google that. This one also, the Huar breath, you can find that on my channel. By doing those two will shift you. So if there's anybody listening to me now that says, I want to shift, I want to go now, then at the very least, you should be doing 30 minutes of the Hool breath every day. Even if you fall asleep doing it, I guarantee you that will allow you to shift. You also should be looking at all of your fears, all of your anger, all of your resentments. You should be looking at how you are preventing yourself from living your dream. Don't wait. There's no more time to wait. The people who are more committed to being, rich doctors and lawyers and real estate moguls, those people are, if that's the most important thing in your life, you're pretty much guaranteed you're not going to make it. So it's going to be frightening. You got to be willing to look at your fears and let go of them. And the frustrating part for me, which I know that I need to shift this around, but the frustrating part for me is that so many of the people who, at least those who communicate with me outside of being my student, which is a whole different deal, but the people who communicate with me haphazardly, I'm getting the picture that these are very damaged people who've been through a lot of trauma and they want an easy way out. And they don't want to do any work. When I say, here, do this, they won't do it. This is one of the reasons I stopped taking questions, because the people who ask questions, most of the time, they're brand new people on the channel who, you know, are entitled and think it's my job to meet them at whatever level of narcissism they're at and superficiality that they're at. And, you know, it doesn't work, because those people end up almost never doing the work anyway. The people who don't say anything and go and subscribe, or the people who go and do the whole breath for, you know, if I say do the whole breath for an hour a day and they just go do it and they don't talk about it, I don't hear about them. I'm sure there's no shortage of those people. I'd love to hear from you. If you're doing the work, I'd love to hear it. You can put it in the comments of the video to let me know that my message is getting somewhere. But anyway, the way to shift is not to wait. You must begin now to fill every moment you can with love for yourself, with love for others. To fill every moment you have to be willing to look at the feelings and the impulses and the actions that you take that don't serve you. The most valuable thing that I can offer you, if somebody came to me and they were willing, they said, listen, I'm willing to do anything you tell me. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. The most important thing for me is to shift. Just tell me what to do. I would say that go and subscribe to the 90-day challenge and begin doing those videos to the best of your ability. Maybe you don't do all of them, because I give you a lot to do every day. You maybe do the morning or the evening, but do one of those, if not all of them, every day. And then I would find a 12-step program. As I've said before, the vast majority of people listening to me, I'm creating a 12-step program for all humans, which is the 12 steps to 5D. But I'm going to guess, 50 to 75% of all of you listening to me qualify for at least one of the 12-step programs. Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Al-Anon, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families. I mean, almost everybody listening to me came from a dysfunctional family, so right there you qualify for ACA. There's Gambling Anonymous, Love and Sex Anonymous. That is the most powerful method of shifting your ability to know what impulses to follow and what impulses not to. It is the most powerful way to create a new identity for yourself. And make no mistake, including me, I've been, this past year and a half, I've been completely having a revolution of my identity. My identity is nowhere near what it was. I'm not the same person I was. And I don't see myself as being the same person I was just a year and a half ago. And I'm not even done yet. But in the new earth, you're going to have to be a different person. You're going to have a different identity. And as it turns out, the only way you can change your identity is through changing your actions. All of the awareness in the world won't help you. There's no shortage of alcoholics and drug addicts who have the awareness that they're addicted, but they can't stop. There's no shortage of people addicted to dysfunctional relationships, gambling, porn, and they know that they're addicted and they know it's not good for them, but they can't stop. They don't have the power. So you have to have something that gives you the power to not only become aware. Again, here's where therapy falls short. I love therapy, but therapy should be with 12 steps. Two of those together are unbeatable. But where therapy falls short is that therapy can give you an awareness of why. Well, my mother had borderline tendencies and she was unavailable and confusing. And so now I've learned to chase after people who are emotionally unavailable because I conflate that with love. That awareness does nothing. And people love to talk about their awarenesses about themselves. People say this all the time, I'm working on myself. And I say, well, you've been working on yourself your whole life, and look where it's got you. You need to have something that gives you the power to take different actions. You need to have something that gives you the power to act contrary to your self-preservation impulses. And no amount of sitting around working on yourself by yourself is going to do that. Unless you're one of those rare people who have the ability to take contrary action. Who, if you're one of those rare people that has the ability to choose to look at the thing you're most frightened of and to dive into it. There's not a whole lot of those people around. Those are the people usually who create things like the 12 steps and become Buddhist. You know, Buddha was one of those people. There's very few people that have that ability, but they are the people who leave the steps and the pathway for others to follow who can't do that. They need to just follow directions. So that's the deal. And so at some point that portal is going to close. That portal will close. Okay, so that's it. Now, as I've said numerous times, I don't take questions anymore. The only time I would even think of taking a question from somebody is if they were subscribed to the 90-day challenge, not just the channel. Be subscribed to the 90-day challenge and that I recognize you. If I recognize your name and I know that you're either my apprentice or you're subscribed, I'll take your question. Other than that, I won't take your question. You can usually find, if you're new, you can usually find answers to all of your questions. Look, I have a huge channel with thousands of videos. I have the subscriptions. I have books. I've written something like 30 books. If you're somebody who's watched my channel and you religiously come onto the live streams, but you haven't bothered to buy a $10 book, you're not going to convince me that you're all that interested in learning what I teach. So go get some of the books. Go look at any of the free teachings that I have. I mean, I've got one thing on there that's like a free shamanism certificate where I give you specific, do something. Take action. Action is the only thing that will change your identity, which will change your vibration, which will change who you are. And all of this stuff is here available for you. 90-day challenge, go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe. Click on the little box that says 90-day or lightning qigong and just follow those videos. Courses.thunderwizard.com, all kinds of stuff. Vedic astrology readings, Vedic astrology certifications, rune readings, rune certifications. Of course, my books, Interdimensional Revolution. See my name right there, Michael William Denny. All you have to do is type that into Amazon and you'll see all of my audiobooks, my printed books, as well as the digital books. And the most important thing anybody can be doing, I don't know if I finished it. If somebody's doing the 90-day challenge, working the 12 steps, and doing interdimensional meditation, the only thing that could make that better is if you have a teacher or a mentor. It's pretty important. You have to have somebody. If you don't want to work with me, find somebody. Have a sponsor in one of your 12-step groups. Find somebody that you respect. It's virtually impossible to shift if you're doing it alone. If you're one of those people that says, I'm just by myself, I don't need a guru, you are so full of yourself. You are so self-entitled and you are completely out of touch with reality. Go and try and become an Olympic anything without a coach. Go try it and tell me how well it works. You're going to have somebody teach you. You're going to have somebody to bounce off of. So get out of your reflective narcissism. The biggest thing to do, I say, is to take action against your fear. If the first thing that comes to your mind is, I'm not going to have a teacher, I'm not going to get a teacher, I'm not going to buy that, I'm not going to subscribe to that, then that is the first thing you should do. Do the thing that you're most afraid of, that you have the most resistance to. You take action on that, especially if it costs you something. If you pay money for something, then you're going to have to follow through and finish it. Whereas if you say, oh, I'm not going to pay for that, everything should be free, now you don't have any reason to finish anything. You just stay in your narcissism and go from one YouTube video to the other. And then while you're bitching and complaining about wanting to delete yourself or wanting to escape the matrix, you'll shift down and you can keep complaining for the rest of time. All right, that's it for me. I don't see any questions here. Yep, I don't see any questions here. Okay, guys, that's it. Do the work. So click on that video link I've given you, which is I pinned it here in the chat. It's also in the description. Go to that Allison Coe's video and hear from a different perspective, maybe a more loving, kind perspective than my warrior, get up off your ass and do something perspective. But the truth is the truth, no matter how you present it. So that's all I got, guys. I wish you all the best. I will see you all next time.